Hello everyone, my name is Daria, this down here is Gina, and welcome back to my channel. And it looks like we have yet another shitty, erotic, romance, wattpad movie, whatever you want to call it, to add to the ever-growing list alongside After, Beautiful Disaster, and My Fault, because Chase Stokes, aka John B. from Outer Banks, aka the 30-year-old man that we are somehow meant to believe can pass as an 18-year-old, just came out with a film called Marked Men, Rule, and Shaw. And the thing is that the After movies took themselves way too seriously, and because of that, nobody else did. And then we had Beautiful Disaster, which I feel like was kind of meant to be a parody on the genre looking back on it. And then we have My Fault, and its remake My Fault London, which I feel like are just like pure guilty pleasure goodness. So where does Marked Men, Rule, and Shaw, where does it land on this spectrum? And having watched the film, I would have to say that it kind of lands in a category all on its own, because I don't think it was supposed to be bad, which it was. But I also think that they were purposefully making it funny, which it also was. But I'm not sure if the humor that I found in the film was purposeful or not. So I honestly could not tell you where this film lies on that Wattpad movie spectrum. And like I said, I have watched this film, and in fact, I paid to watch this film, okay? This movie was in theaters for 2 days only, back in January, and I dragged my coworkers with me as a bonding excursion to go see it, and I do not regret a thing. I do not regret spending 15 of my hard-earned dollars on that film, because it was an incredible experience. The funniest night out I've had in a long time. So because of that, with this video, I will not be doing my typical thing, which is watching and reacting to movies in real time. And instead, I will be taking a page out of one of my favorite content creators' books, aka Kenny JD. And I will be summarizing this film for you with some of my, I would like to say, flavorful commentary throughout. And I will also be comparing this movie to the original source material, because yes, of course, I read the fucking book. Also, one last thing before we get started, randomly, every single C-list actor from any piece of teen and young adult media to ever exist is somehow in this film, okay? We already have, what's his name from Outer Banks. We also have Dan Scott from One Tree Hill, and we have Kato from The Hunger Games. Oh, and then we also have, I never watched the Gossip Girl reboot, but that dude with the shaved pink hair, the skater boy, he's also in this movie. I don't know how that happened, but it seemingly seems like, who's who of young adult media. Everybody's in this film. The movie opens up on a tattoo parlor, and this is where we meet our hero, our romantic lead, Rule Archer. Yes, that is his name. I'm going to give you just a few seconds to process that information, because trust me, that is the least insane thing about this film. So Rule and his friends then end up going to this local bar, and when he is there, he strikes up a conversation with a girl whom you may recognize from the first two After films. I recognize her face, I could not tell you her name. They end up talking about tattoos, and she mentions that she wants to get one. And that is when this man then launches into the most insane, downright nauseating monologue that I have ever heard in a film. And mind you, we're barely 5 minutes into this, and this is the scene. This is like our intro to the hero, right? This is the scene that is meant to establish him as a character to us, and they picked this scene. He just keeps going on and on about the artistry and the importance of getting a tattoo, and he just comes off like such a condescending dick.
We don't do flash. We don't do flash art. We don't do cover-ups. We don't do repeats.
Okay, Picasso.
Let me give you some advice. There are 4 reasons, and 4 reasons only, to get a tattoo. 1, to honor someone or something. 2, because it's fucking funny. 3, because it says something about yourself you couldn't express in any other way. And 4, because you just really fucking dig it, all right? Not because it's cute or fucking sexy or you want a butterfly, all right? It's art. It fucking matters.
But for some godforsaken reason, I could not tell you how, probably because he's the main character in a romance film, she is just so attracted to this man. She doesn't shrivel up and go dry at his words like I think anybody else would. No, she is very enticed, very intrigued, and she ends up going home with them. And the next morning, when the two wake up and are about to go for round whatever, that is when we meet our leading lady, Shaw, who comes into the room. Again, I'm sorry, I know you probably want to talk about the names, but I don't have time. There is so much more to get to. I also forgot to mention, we meet another star of the show in this scene, and that is Rule's bare ass. We will be seeing a lot of him. So Shaw and Rule end up driving to go see Rule's family, which consists of him, his mother, his father, and his older brother named Rome. And I believe that Rome just got back from serving in the army. We come to learn that Rule had a twin brother named Remy from some very poorly photoshopped images, although honestly, I would much prefer this over AI. We find out that Remy died about 3 years ago. It obviously left a huge hole in the family and has majorly fucked with the family dynamics. And Shaw is part of this because she used to be Remy's best friend before he died, and so she kind of got like adopted into the family because of that. So everyone sits down for dinner, and it is obvious to everybody there and watching that Rule's mother is highly intoxicated and inebriated, and she ends up like collapsing at some point during the dinner, and this leads to this huge blowout fight between everyone where it is obvious that Rule is kind of like the problem child, and he ends up getting thrown out of the house. Shaw ends up driving Rule home, and while they're driving back, they pass by the place where Remy died. He got into a car accident one night driving in the dark around these like windy mountain roads, and Rule ends up blaming himself, and I guess his parents also blame him, which is really fucking shitty actually. I have nothing funny to say about that. That's some fucking trauma. But yeah, Rule was like really drunk one night. He calls Remy to come pick him up, and then on that drive, that is when Remy drove off this cliff and died. So when Shaw eventually returns back to her place, this is when we meet arguably the best character in the film, but she's only the best character because she's not really fucking annoying and cringy and just happens to be a halfway decent person. And that is Shaw's roommate and friend, Aiden. The whole group from the tattoo parlor ends up going back to that same local bar that they always frequent, and that is where we meet their friend Jet, who is like a singer, performer, I don't fucking know. This is also when we find out that Shaw apparently has a job working at this bar, and this is also when we find out, the quintessential nickname, okay? In every single one of these romance movies, the girl has to have a god-awful nickname given to her by the hero and the romantic lead, and I have to say, I think that this one takes the cake. Yes, believe it or not, it is worse than Pigeon from Beautiful Disaster. The nickname that this man gave Shaw is Casper, as in the friendly ghost.
Why do you even call her Casper in the first place?
I don't know. Remy brought her home. They were studying together. The first time I saw her, she was coming down the stairs.
Oh, so
She's
hard.
this tiny little thing, fucking skinny. And I said, bro, you gotta give her something to eat. This girl's too fucking pale. Like a ghost. Casper, the friendly ghost.
This is also the moment where Jet and Aiden meet arguably the best face cards in the entire cast. And watching them flirt and make out is probably the only highlight that can really be found in this film. Sometimes it's nice to just watch two beautiful people suck each other's faces. Not too long after, Shaw's ex-boyfriend, whom she recently broke up with, Gabe, enters the establishment. And listen, we know how these movies go, okay? There's always another guy that's introduced who ends up being an even bigger piece of shit when compared to the romantic hero, because we need some way to make the hero look good, right? Even if the hero's being a dick, we need someone to be an even bigger dick to make him look not so bad, okay? So that is who this guy is. However, at the current moment in this film, when we're introduced to him, he is really not that bad. This dude is not being weird, he is not being aggressive, he is talking to Shaw and is upset about the breakup, and then this is when Rule's dumbass gets in the middle of them and just starts being an asshole immediately off the jump, like for no reason. I know that this is meant to be the first inkling of Rule's feelings for Shaw because he's meant to be like jealous, but honestly, I couldn't even really process that because it was just so jarring to see him come in, guns blazing into this conversation that literally was like so calm 2 seconds ago. And also, the things he was saying were so stupid. And then to add to the ridiculousness, this guy looks so obviously 10 years older than Shaw and Gabe, so it looked like their daddy was coming in to break up a playground fight. But anyway, Gabe and Rule end up throwing punches, and then this devolves into like a full-on bar brawl. Okay, so then we go into this whole sequence where all of the ruffians from the tattoo parlor go and are like graffitiing all over. Is that how you say it? Is it graffitiing? They do graffiti? They graffiti? Well, Okay, I don't know how to conjugate it. This whole scene is meant to show like what rebels they are, and you don't want to mess with them, and they're kind of bad, they're kind of dangerous. But like, I did not get that at all. It just felt very performative, which like obviously this is meant to be a performance, but it wasn't a good one. Also, one thing I want to point out during the scene, because it will become important later, the youngest of the group, Jasper, who by the way has incredible style. He was like wearing a little crop top in the first scene, and I loved that. But he is there, and he is up several stories doing graffiti. It sounds so stupid. I'm not gonna look it up though. He's doing that like several stories up, so just keep that in your back pocket. We also see Shaw on the phone with her mother, and this woman is way too funny to be in this film. I'm sorry. She's on the phone with Shaw and talking about how she needs to lock down Gabe and marry him so that way when he dies, she can inherit all of his money. She also ends up calling her Shawberry, which is both very funny and also way cuter than the nickname Casper. So that's very embarrassing for Rule. How did you get outdone by this girl's mother when it comes to the nicknames? It is then Shaw's 21st birthday, and she honestly has an amazing night courtesy of her best friend Aiden, and she's at this club, and that is when she runs into Rule. And listen, I don't know if it's the script or the delivery or the complete utter lack of chemistry between these two, but the supposed banter between them, it was like chalk in your hand. It fell apart and it was dry. I also feel like this is a very opportune time for me to mention that the person who directed this film was also the same director who did The Notebook and My Sister's Keeper. Do with that what you will. Rule and Shaw end up leaving the club early, and they go back to his place, and what proceeds is likely one of the worst sex scenes that I have ever seen. Definitely top 5, maybe even top 3, top 1, okay? When I was watching this in theaters, I actually legitimately covered my eyes and looked away because I couldn't stand to watch it. I paid $15, okay, to watch that movie, and that still wasn't enough to make me watch that scene. So the first time I ever did watch this scene in its entirety was for this video, and I watched it at 1.5 speed. So Shaw takes off her dress, and she is doing all that she can to try to seduce Rule. And let me just say, beyond just how thoroughly not sexy everything that she does is, there's also the layer of Rule looking like he is incredibly uncomfortable and is giving every single indication that he does not want this to happen, including saying stop multiple times. And he's like physically running away from her. During this scene, Shaw, this is where I lost it. This is where I covered my eyes. She gets up on the pool table and ends up, she meows and she does this little thing. She does a little RAR XD thing. Like, oh my God. Jesus.
I've never seen a footprint in the lines of rivers.
You want me to be a cat?
You're my
You can be a cat.
What?
What the fuck?
Shaw then proceeds to climb on top of Rule, and that is when she confesses that she has always loved him, will always love him, and then they have sex. And thank God we didn't have to fucking see it. The next morning, Shaw wakes up and leaves before she and Rule have a chance to talk, and she goes home and gives Aiden a play-by-play. She also confirms that she did not achieve the org, is what I will call it. Also, this happens.
Is that cum?
I feel like you don't want me to answer that. I can share.
Share? Share? No! No! Oh my God.
Rule and Shaw then have a chat and decide that they are going to be exclusive but without any labels, which in my experience always works out so well. And then after that, we like hard cut, immediate jump cut to a sex montage. And there is one part of this montage that was an absolute jump scare. I quite literally jumped out of my seat in that theater. I absolutely cannot play this clip for you without it being heavily censored, but I will tell you that it involves a certain star of the show that I mentioned earlier in this video and an open palm. If you catch my drift.
We then get this very random out of place scene where this really hot girl shows up to the tattoo parlor and is laying it on thick and throwing herself at Rule, and then he turns her down, and then that's when his buddies come over and like pull him aside and are like berating him for not sleeping with her, and it just felt so juvenile. Shaw brings Rule to her mother's annual Christmas party, and her mom ends up cornering her and tells her that she has to get back together with Gabe, that he is planning to propose, and that she better say yes. Blah, 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 you know, regular rich people with no morals type shit. We then cut to Rule's friend Jasper, the really good dresser, and he is back at that same building several stories up, and he ends up falling to his death, which was honestly very shocking. I remember watching this in theaters, and it felt like a very dark turn in what was, up until then, a seemingly lighthearted film. When Rule is driving home from the party, he gets a call, he finds out what happened, and he just feels very horrible, and he feels responsible because he had told Jasper that he was gonna go with him to tag that building, and he also ends up blaming Shaw for all of this as well, and then he tells her that he wants to take a break, and essentially they break up. He tells Shaw that he is, quote, not good for anyone right now, but then he immediately proceeds to fuck that super hot girl Sierra from the tattoo parlor. So, I don't know. Men will always have the fucking audacity, won't they? Even in fiction. Shaw ends up getting back together with Gabe, and at the same time, Rule and his family are starting to heal. The mom is in treatment and is sober now. And this is when we get a scene where Shaw's at Gabe's place, and she goes into the bathroom and calls Rule and leaves a message saying that she still loves him, that if he ever needs her, he can just let her know, and she will be right there to be with him. And Gabe hears this. When Shaw comes out of the bathroom, Gabe confronts her, and then in the argument, he ends up hitting her. And this is so frustrating for so many reasons, because they're obviously doing this, like I said earlier in the video, so that Rule can seem like less of a dick for all that he's done. Because of course, when you compare him to a fucking domestic abuser, he's gonna look like the better person. And it's just like, you're just using violence against women and this very real, prevalent fucking issue. For what? To make your romantic hero look good. Like, you're so fucking annoying. You're so fucking annoying. Why do so many romance movies do this? Why does so much romance media do this? They're always using, like, the sexual assault or physical assault of women as, like, a plot device to make the romantic hero look good. Don't piss me off. I mean, you already did, but, like, stop pissing me off. Rule finds out about what happened, and he goes to Gabe's office to kick his ass. And then what happens is an absolute annihilation, because Gabe fucks him up bad. I know this is serious. Like I just said, this is a very serious issue, okay? But I lost it. I lost it. I was in that theater and I lost my mind watching this scene. Because why would you have the hero of your story get his ass handed to him like that? That is so humiliating. And what makes it even worse is that they give the money shot to his brother. Okay, you remember Kato from the Hunger Games? This is when his character finally becomes relevant, because then he corners Gabe later on in a parking lot, and he's the one who gets to beat Gabe's ass. I literally could not tell you why it was written this way. Okay, why would you make your romantic lead look like that? Why would you embarrass him like that? And I have to assume that somewhere in what's-his-name Hunger Games dude's contract, that he wrote, okay, I will be a side character in this movie, but only if I get the final blow. Because that's crazy. Also, Shaw's mom finds out about what Gabe did to her daughter and reacts in the most batshit insane way possible.
I heard about Gabe, by the way. What a psychopath. Not that I think you should completely rule him out as a husband. Not that I approve, but let's face it, they are men. It's our job to rehabilitate them.
So all that's left in the movie now is for our leading couple to get back together. And this happens when Rule paints, graffitis, a giant portrait of Shaw on the side of this building that she sees while she's driving. And they end up having this conversation, and it's just, you know, he's confessing his love, he's saying that he misses her, that he knows he fucked up, blah, blah, blah. And then they have the audacity to play the worst cover ever of Time After Time over a scene of Rule giving Shaw her first tattoo. The movie then ends with a party montage of the whole cast, and Shaw ends up giving Rule a lap dance in front of everybody, including his brother, which is very weird to me. And then the final scene is of Rule and Shaw moving in together. Roll credits. So let's go ahead and discuss the differences between the book to the film. And I would say that there's really just one major difference, and that is how the movie handled Remy. Because in the book, Remy, Rule's twin who died, is just so much more of like a presence in the book. Like, he is constantly being brought up and is haunting both the main characters and their relationship. Remy and Shaw were like really, really close friends, and also everybody believed that they were in love and were together. And Remy and Shaw both kind of allowed people to think that when he was alive. So when he died, everyone's like, oh, Shaw was like the love of his life. So it makes anything that happens between Rule and Shaw that much more taboo. Also, Rule's mom is awful in the book, okay? She hates her son, okay? She makes it abundantly clear that she would rather Rule have died than Remy. She's like abusive to him, frankly. It's crazy. Anyway, back to Remy. There's another thing that the movie omitted, which it occurs very early on in the book. We get the first inkling of this plot because we're in Shaw's head, and she is talking about how she could put all of the rumors of her and Remy supposedly being in a relationship to rest by saying one thing. But she says that she can't say that one thing because that was Remy's secret to tell, and he's not here to tell it. And immediately I was like, Remy was gay, wasn't he? Boom, yes, I was right, Remy was gay. And you know what's crazy? This ends up getting revealed like really, really late in the book, and it's kind of this like big like gotcha moment. Like it's like dropped like a bomb at this very climactic moment in the novel. And I can't say that it's offensive, but it felt offensive. Like, something about it just felt kind of weird. I can't tell you why, but it felt weird. Anyway, that's it. That's the movie, that's the book, that's the comparison between the two. I really don't have much to say. I don't know, like, I've watched this movie so long ago that I feel like I don't have strong feelings about it right now. Like, all of the intense emotions, all the laughter, all of the what the fuck did I just watch, I processed like over a month ago now. I'm just happy that I can now talk about this movie with the world now that it's out there. I don't know if they're gonna make another one because, like I said, this is based on an anthology series, and I believe that the next book is about Aiden and Jet and their romance. I know Rome also gets a book. There's another character in this movie named Nash who gets a book. I don't know, because I don't know how well this movie did. I don't know if it's gonna become the next After series. Who knows? But I will say that it was quite an experience watching it in the theaters, and I will always cherish that experience. So that is it for me today, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Go ahead and let me know if you've seen this film and what you thought of it. If you have not seen this film, tell me what you thought based on the summary I gave. If you guys want to find me or follow me anywhere else, all of my links will be down below, and you can also find a link to my Patreon where you will get exclusive and extended content from me. I love you all so very dearly, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!